dude, I thought I was gonna die, man. Like I was in so much pain. I was like coughing up. I was like, give me the damn pill, man.
Yep.
But after you take that pill, it's like, all right, you should be like taking a step back and be like, all right, like your body always wants to heal itself.
Yep.
Why isn't it healing? You
Yeah.
know, what's going on in your environment that's causing to have all these flare-ups, to causing you having these diseases? A lot of research coming out now is, genetics. They're finding it only plays like a three, anywhere from like a three to some books or some research to a 20% role in your life. So you can't really blame genetics anymore. What they do is they find out now something called epigenetics, which is basically your environment is the key to unlock all these diseases. So when people are like, "Oh, I have this disease, it runs in my family," I'm like, I don't know about all that. Yeah, you could have some genes that do it, but it's such a
Right.
small percentage, and
Right.
it's really something that you're doing in your lifestyle that's causing this to happen.
My name is Paul Newell. I'm a men's health coach and guide, also well-being guide and consultant. And my guy, Brian Reitgen, please
Mhm.
introduce yourself.
Yep, Brian Rankin, entrepreneur, health and fitness for almost 25 years now. Just trying to spend some knowledge and that I've learned over the years through a lot of people that are way more intelligent than me. So hopefully, you guys can get a lot out of it, just like I did.
My man, listen, this
Mhm.
guy right here. Listen. I'll tell you what. I'm really looking forward to what we're about to create because with Brian's experience and my experience, and also our curiosity to want to know different things is going to benefit you. So
Definitely.
let's go for the ride. So listen, since this is our first episode, Brian and I were like, look, man, what are we gonna do here? What are we gonna talk about? So we're going to the roots, man. We're gonna go intro to health and well-being and how we nurture ourselves. So listen, so here's the kicker, right? So dang, so Brian, when we were coming together to put this together, we came up with the outline, and you're like, man, when we talked about this, it was so much of who we are because it's about nurturing a balanced lifestyle. So I'm curious for you, my guy, what's a balanced lifestyle to you? What would that look like
Oh
for
man,
you?
I think it's a three-legged stool, right? You got your physical, you got your working out, working in, those that's
Mm,
big. You got your nutrition. Not all nutrition's the same, right? Everyone's body's different, so everyone requires different kinds of nutrition, nutrients, supplementation, and the whole spiritual aspect. You miss one end of that stool, one end of that leg. That stool is you're gonna be falling over. And I think in today's world, a lot of people are focusing just on the physical aspect, just trying to get a workout in, maybe working on their diet every once in a while or their lifestyle. And then after that, it's maybe like as they get older, they start getting into more of the spiritual aspect of things, working on themselves on a mental, emotional level. So you got to have all three of them to be optimal. I mean, you can get by on one or two, but sooner or later, it's gonna catch you in the butt.
yeah, you're speaking truth right there, Brian. Because especially as I'm getting older, spirit's really coming into this. Because a lot of times I'm like, Lord God, help me get through this workout because
Yeah.
this is this is tough. But in all seriousness, though, I really appreciate what you're saying about that three-legged stool because I think it's even in that what you say and living and working to navigate and balance those three areas. That in itself is a journey, man.
Oh yeah, that never
That's
ends. Never ends.
right, and it's
Yeah,
in that case, Brian. It makes it a practice.
yeah,
It's like, oh well, this is just what I do. So because and I view the balanced lifestyle very similar to how you actually the same way you do. I
mm,
think that there are these components that as soon as weight goes into one side more than the others, then everything is skewed. It's like then
mhm.
everything goes off. It's like having a bad hip or bad shoulder. All of a sudden your spine gets all crooked. You have a
Yeah,
bunch of neck soreness and stuff, and all of a sudden people are like, "What happened?" Well, your spine is jacked up.
hmm
That's you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
I mean, so it's interesting, man. So the topic we want to get into, and like when Brian and I were pre gaming with this, I was really interested in going into this topic about the holistic versus the allopathic types of medicine.
Mm.
And for people, like, first of all, when Brian said allopathic, I was like, what? Who? So basically,
What?
he was like, come on, Paul, man, come on, man, it's worse than this. I was like, oh yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's right. But this is wild because like I've always, I guess I just naturally navigated towards the spiritual side of things, and me personally, my experience connecting with you is I've seen you have that spirit, you have that side of it where you're like a Joe Dispenza dude, where you can bring the science in and the spirit in, and like, yo, okay, what are we doing here? Right? Look at what we're doing.
Yeah.
So for the people, can you give an explanation, or actually, let's break down what's holistic and what's allopathic. All right, so holistic.
So holistic, like so in the holistic world or the holistic I guess pyramid.
Right.
So the way it works out is all your muscles are controlled by organs, your organs are controlled by hormones, your hormones are controlled by the foods and thoughts that you put in your body.
Hmm.
So if you're trying to get optimally, for example, lean to your fullest potential,
Right.
you can lift as much weight as you want. You can work out 6, 7 days if you want, twice a day. If you're even if your recovery is good, your nutrition can be on point. But if you're having constantly bad thoughts going on in your head, you're not going to hit optimally where you're supposed to be.
Right.
You know, there's so many people in this world that I see like, just rips, six pack, eating clean all the time, organic foods, but they're always in pain because they don't work on that root chakra or they don't work on this stuff holding them back to allow it to your body to kind of release and feel energized and manifest into other things. So
Mm.
that's the holistic aspect of it. So like, if you go to your doctor about a back problem,
Right.
he's gonna take a look just at that part of the back, and he doesn't ask you anything about your nutrition. He doesn't ask about your childhood.
Yeah.
People get
Yeah.
really deep in there. What's going on? What kind of emotions are you holding on to? It's like,
Right.
oh, here, take this pill for this ill, take this for your back pain. You know what? Maybe in 6 weeks we'll do an MRI, but first I want you to spend a little bit of money on go to physical therapy 3 times a week for the next 6 to 8 weeks. It just different approach.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, as we're talking about approach, that's the holistic part, right? We're gonna
Yeah.
come back with some examples, but this holistic part, now the allopathic part,
Yeah.
that's
So
what you were just saying, where it's just like, here, pop this,
yeah.
come back to me in 6 months, and then we'll see if we got some pop some more.
Yeah. So the allopathic approach, basically, like doctors, most Western doctors are like this, right? They have, I'm not saying anything negative about it, but it's not preventive medicine.
Right.
They go to it's surgery, it's take this pill, and when they can't figure it out, oh, it's just all in your head, or they give you some kind of a excuse or run around because they don't want to be vulnerable. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So it's very like here, either surgery or take this pill, or it's nothing preventative. They don't get to the source of the problem. They just treat the symptoms of the problem. That's the main thing. So like you think the holistic aspect is more preventative.
Yeah.
You get past barriers to optimally work yourself in the best way,
Yeah.
or you got the allopathic approaches where you already have the disease, where you already have these ailments.
Right.
Take a pill, let's cut you up a little bit. That's
Mm.
the way.
It's so wild, man, because so some examples of the East and what, like the holistic versus the allopathic, that I think are really interesting. So examples of the holistic are yoga,
Hmm.
Reiki, meditation,
Yeah.
um, uh, therapy,
Hmm.
right? Because we're talking about the stuff that we're feeding ourselves, and feeding our mind and our spirit. So these are those pieces that, I think, in even acupuncture, massage therapy, these are all pieces that, like, if you're talking to people that have been in those professions for years, they'll start talking to you about meridians and
Hmm.
chakras and lines and slings, and you'll be like, yo, man, I just came here for this knot. Why you rubbing my big toe, man? Why? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's all connected. Now on the same token, though, now you also have the Western medicine, which is the meds, right? It's like, okay, it's popping one, like, for example, I have high blood pressure, so
Hmm.
I have a couple meds that I take. It's like, do I want to take them? No. And at the same time, it's something for me to work towards to get past it. That's my Western medicine. Yeah. But at the same time, I like the holistic stuff where I can go journey and do shaman journeys and reiki myself, like woo, and all that stuff. And it's a combination. So
Hmm.
it's wild, man, because how, like, dang, I'm like thinking about this, and for someone that is not, like, hasn't had the experience that we've had, right, or that we have, and like the curiosity to learn more, where the hell would people start if they had like an ongoing um like scenario? I'm just thinking about this from someone else. Like, I think let's dive into that, like what that could look like
Yeah.
for different types of
So I
conditions.
think most people are not familiar with the holistic aspect. It's definitely getting more publicity now. It's definitely getting more. It's becoming more pronounced in our society because for the simple fact that people are sick and tired of feeling
Mm.
sick and tired.
Hey
They're
man.
slowly realizing that
Yeah.
our government or FDA
Yeah.
is not really trying to help us in a way.
Right.
It's not for health, it's for profits.
Right.
We don't have, I'm a true believer that we don't, not to get too much down the road, but we don't have a government, we have a corporation, and it's all about making money. It's all about making
Moolah.
money.
The
All
moolah.
about that money, you
Hey,
know?
so Brian, before we get into this like deeper, right? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
what I have my judgments about the reasons why holistic medicine is really failing to take off, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, since people are probably thinking like, well, what is it, Paul? I'm glad you're thinking it. I think it's, listen, it's like Brian said, it's money. And
Yeah.
so the thing is, and also it's something tangible to Western medicine, in my judgment. It's this, like, okay, you come in with an illness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's a pill. Take this. Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Eastern medicine is just like, I want you to go in your mind. I want you to tell me what you're feeling. What? Like, no, give me something, man. This other shit is too hard, man.
Yeah.
So it's
People don't
like,
want to take responsibility for themselves.
dude, let's go into that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
much easier to take a pill than kind of figure out why you're always angry at something or why you have no motivation or why you're always, not don't have discipline.
Right.
It's a psyche thing. It's a psyche thing. It's a discipline thing. It's much easier than having just hearing somebody say, oh, take this pill.
Right.
It's 1, 2, 3. It's it's easy.
Right.
It's supposed to be easy. It's easy up front, but in the long run, it creates a lot of issues.
Yeah. And listen, I'm going to tell on myself, because as much as taking a med is easy, there's still times that I'm like, I'm not taking that shit. What?
Mm-hmm.
What? No, I'm not taking it. And it's like, oh, shoot, I forgot to take it. It's still
Mm-hmm.
discipline either way. You know what I mean? It's like, it's very interesting. Like, the more we're talking about this, the more I'm like, wow, this really is that, like, yin and yang, babe. It's
Mm-hmm.
like both in a way need each other.
Yes. Yeah.
It's, it's like, so what?
There's a
Go.
time and place for everything. There's a
Right.
time and place for everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So you also say something, Brian, it cracks me up, because you're like, look, if I break my leg, I'm not looking to a shaman to rub oils on my shit.
yeah.
It's like,
Exactly.
yo, I'm
Yeah.
going to the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not doing an ayahuasca retreat next week with a broken femur, It's like put this
That's
rod in my leg. Let's get this thing fixed, you know?
yeah.
I don't want to hear about my daddy issues, like let's just go, you know.
Root chakra.
Root
Root
chakra.
chakra
Yeah,
work.
exactly. So there is a time and place for everything.
Yes,
Uh,
true, true.
but I would always go to the pill for the last resort. That's my personal opinion. That's what I was taught throughout the years, and it really, when I learned how it all is just one big kind of corporation, and the whole thing is just to kind of like push this drug on you
Mm,
and get you out of this, like out of this realm of airy fairiness of a holistic medicine. It's kind of eye-opening, and I mean, you got to understand, like, drugs have only been around for probably a few decades now. we've
right.
been we've been we've been living without that stuff for a long time in a great way.
Yeah, man.
I think one of the issues is that a lot of these media is when every time you listen to watch a commercial, you go on the CNN or whatever like that, and you're watching the news. There's always a medical, there's always a prescription they're trying to sell, and
Yeah.
that's because all these, like, Pfizer, Merck, all these drug companies, they have stock into these medias, and
Right.
so they tell the media what to put on, because it makes money. It makes money. There's a huge markup in pharmaceuticals. Again, time and place for everything. Time and place
Yeah.
for everything. But if you're looking to live a balanced life, and that's basically what holistic is, trying to create a balance in your life, on a health level, that you got to do something different. You got to take responsibility of yourself.
It's so, man, Brian, man. Yeah, it's so true, and I'm so happy you said that, because as you were talking about the corporations and things, I'm agreeing with what you're saying. And at the same time, I'm like, well, hold up. Like, while that is happening, like, we get to take, I'm going to speak for myself. I still get to take responsibility for my actions.
Mhm.
Right. And I think it's very interesting. When we were talking about this before, we talked about this interconnectedness, and it hit me when you were talking, like, how powerful that is. Because look, if I even if I from this Western medicine perspective, I'm taking this pill now. From that Eastern perspective, I'm also going to, like, I don't know, yoga, whatever, blah blah blah, whatever it is, something for the mindset. Me doing that stuff for the mindset and the spirit is changing my lifestyle, so that now I'll soon to be off the med. It's like we meet in the middle. So now it's like I don't need this. And
Yeah.
the thing that this has helped me, like, I'm seeing this. It's a lot of it is our lifestyle, and and it hit me. It started to hit me when you talked about how medicine is relatively new. So what happened, right? Like,
Mhm.
is it because, like, now it's like, yeah, hey, we got microwaves now, so why warm up a food on a skillet like we used to, right? Or have to, like, go create a fire, which would require, like, well, hey, do I really want to eat that if I gotta make a fire? Like, think about that. If when I have a fast food bender, am I gonna be quick to go to a fast food spot if I know I gotta go cook?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
But
yeah.
at the same time, if I go to Super Shop right now, I'm like, yo, this is some good beef. Is this
Yeah.
ragu? Oh man, I'm gonna make myself a burger.
Mhm.
That type of thing is gonna help me enjoy and have more
Mhm.
health and well being.
Sure.
Than just like, okay, I'm gonna pop a pill and I'm still gonna have this fast food joint and get myself a double cheeseburger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's very interesting, man. So it's like, for people that are listening to this, like, we're always open to comments and hearing and want to hear your thoughts. So at another time, we may do something on the topic, right? So one of the things, like, we want to do with these sessions is make sure that there are some takeaways, some things that you could be like, yo, man, well, that was all that information is great and stuff, guys, but, like, what do I do with that? Like, so what? I mean, so Brian, like, well, before we even get to that, just so we can make this a little bit, make this relevant for others, like,
Mhm.
can you think of an experience for yourself when you used the two, like the two of them helped you?
When I used the two of them, yeah. So I didn't. What really changed my life was a huge paradigm shift when I was about 27, 28. I was hustling around. I ran a bunch of gyms. I ran like 6 gyms down in South Jersey, and I was kind of hustling all the time. Eat Wendy's, drinking Monster drinks, and just basically living in and out of my car.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden, like a few months into it, I started getting like a pain in my side. And I'm like, I thought it was like my appendix or whatever like that. I went to the doctor originally. He's like, oh, you could have appendix, kind of keep an eye on it, kind of thing. And I was like, all right. I didn't have insurance at the time, medical insurance. So I was like, I'm gonna suck this up as much as I can.
yeah,
And one day I'm like in the shower, and I like started getting like this coughing frenzy, and I cough up like this, it was like black tar stuff, right? And I was like, holy shit. I was like, okay, this is not good. All right. So I called the doctor, and I was like, hey, listen, I'm like coughing up like black stuff. He's like, I don't know what it is, but whatever that infection is, it's in your lungs now, and you need to, or it's getting close to your lungs or in your lungs, you need to get down to the ER. So I go down to the ER, and they do a whole like CAT scan. I drink that I think barium it's called, that liquid and whatever like that, so it lights up on a chart. And they found like these like silver dollar like internal blisters like all around my organs. Like all my organs were kind of swelling, they're rubbing up against each other, causing these blisters. And it was like the worst pain, right? So the doctor's like, he's like, oh, you have these internal blisters. I forgot the terminology for it. I'm like, well, how does this happen? He's like, oh, sometimes it just happens. I'm like, I never even heard of this. Like, I did like all the stuff I've been doing in this field for this long. I never even heard of this. And so right away, I really like, all right, he doesn't know what it is, which is fine. But so they wind up like draining all these blisters with some needles and taking out to relieve some of the pain. And they gave me some medicine. So of course I'm like, I'm not thinking anything of it. So I take the medicine and everything like that. Worked out great, man. It was like, I'm thankful for the medicine. I'm thankful for the pills that they gave me. Within a week or so, I felt like back to normal. Everything was good. Then I was telling one of my friends this, who's a holistic health practitioner. And at the time I thought he was just like, tree hugger, kind of like everything is good in the world and everything. So it's
probably
he's
a
like,
common perception.
yeah. He's like, I want
People
you to
out there, people listening, they're like, oh my God, is he talking about me?
yeah. Yeah. So he's like, I want to introduce you to my guru guy. And I'm like, all right. So went down to his place and I started telling him about everything that I was going through. And the questionnaire was weird. Like, for me at the time, he's like, have you any trauma in your past? Like, how was your childhood? How was this? I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm open. I've always been open to a lot of things. And then he started like, put a list of like what you eat and drink in a day. So as I'm like writing all this stuff down, like a light bulb went off. I'm like, holy crap. It's like all this shit, like all these emotions I'm carrying in me that I have yet to deal with, all my nutrition. This is causing it. Like this is like I was like, damn. So so I wanted to tell one of my buddies who's been in the field for like, 10, 15 years. I'm like, dude, I am so fascinated by this. This is like amazing. It was like a paradigm shift. And I knew this was like going to be part of my calling in life. And he's like, you know what? He's like, you ever heard a guy named Paul Chek? And I'm like, no, I never heard of this guy. And he's like, look at this guy. So I looked this guy up and I've been doing seminars with him for 10 years. The guy like changed my life. And like, like it was like he just went down a whole new path. And I mean, that's for other podcasts we can go down.
Listen, Paul Chek, but best believe we're going into some of his stuff. I hold that dude in very high regard.
Yeah, like he changed my life and changed the way I think about a lot of things. And I applied a lot of those principles to my life, and I still use that. I still use them to this day. And like I'm rarely sick. I haven't really been sick except for maybe like once or twice in the last 15 years of changing this. And a lot of it's like just working on myself every day. I try to be a little better, whether it's 1/10 of 1%, a little better, where I'm being more vulnerable. I'm opening up a little more to myself. I'm talking about my stuff a little bit more. I'm eating a little cleaner. I'm constantly doing research, trying to find other people out there. So that's basically in a quick nutshell. Like that's my background, how I got into it. But yeah, like if anybody has those, like like for me, like when would I use all that stuff? Like when would I use the holistic aspect and the pill? Like, dude, I thought I was gonna die, man. Like I was in so much pain. I was like coughing up. I was like, give me the damn pill, man. But after you take that pill, it's like, all right, you should be like taking a step back and be like, all right, like your body always wants to heal itself. Why isn't it healing? What's going on in your environment that's causing to have all these flare-ups, to causing you having these diseases? A lot of research coming out now is genetics. They're finding it only plays like anywhere from like a 3 to some books or some research to a 20% role in your life. So you can't really blame genetics anymore. What they do is they find out now something called epigenetics, which is basically your environment is the key to unlock all these diseases. So when people are like, oh, I have this disease, it runs in my family, I'm like, I don't know about all that. Yeah, you could have some genes that do it, but it's such a small percentage. And it's usually something that you're doing in your lifestyle that's causing this to happen. And I don't want you to be like, I don't want you thinking me like, well, I'm giving you this information, or this information is out there so you can empower yourself, knowing that you don't have to rely on medical professions. You don't have to rely on doctors and all this other stuff to get you through this. You can heal yourself by yourself
Yeah.
just by doing a little research, being a little more open minded. You
Yeah,
know.
and Brian, something too that a lot that I want to start talking more about is also about our communication, man. Because one of the things, like what I'm hearing you say is, when it got to that point, like you communicated with your doctor what was going on, right? You also
Yeah.
communicated with your friend what was going on, which puts you on to the natural path doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're able to communicate with your body, like, yo, body, your also is like, yo, just by even doing the activity of like writing things down, man, that in itself could open up some stuff because
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff. Listen, the body keeps score, man. Louise Hay, Heal Your Body. Listen, we can rattle on and we even put some of the stuff in the show notes. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there that's available to help you understand. And there's stuff that's older that says it. There's stuff, as Brian was you were saying, there's new research that's saying it. Again, I'm a big Dr. Joe Dispenza fan. He's talking about these things as far as epigenetics, activations based on our environments and like what we're taking in, all these things. This stuff is
Yeah.
real right now, man. It's real, and we have. And, you said something too that I heard you say about having the opportunity to really do the research and having these different tools and act and like and different resources to go find out information is huge.
Yeah.
I want to share this piece, right? Like what when I started recognizing I needed the balance of the both. I needed that interconnectedness. So I was for years I was struggling with my hip. I think it was like probably like 7 years. Maybe it was even longer ago than that. I can't remember. Whatever. But like I went to go see a chiropractor a while ago, and they were like, "Your hips you got degenerative hips. Like they're getting bad." And that was when I started having hip pain. Over the years, I disregarded. I got into yoga. I was like, okay, I'm breathing. I recognized like I was more on the eastern part, right, where I was like, this is something in my childhood. Like there's something in my root chakra. Or yeah, my parents got divorced. Yep, I had an unstable childhood. Yes, I love chaos. Like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
my sacral chakra is blocked too. Like sexual repression from religion, all that shit, therapy, all
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Like because I was like, okay, cool, I got to clear this out. And it came to the time when like I started working a Lifetime when I first met Brian, and I was having bad hip pains, but I did my best to carry it off, but I was like limping noticeably. So when we went in for the pandemic, we all shut down. I remember I went to go see that. I forget who I was talking to, but I was like, I might as well just go see a doctor while I have the opportunity. So, and I never really went to go to see a doctor. I was just like, I was like doing my own thing. I didn't have insurance. I was like, I'll be fine. I'm just limping.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the doctor, right? Brian, this guy, they take my x-ray when I go in. I sit in the room. The doctor comes in. He's like, what? He was like, what the F happened to your hips? How the F did you walk in here? And I was like, what? Like, I had never recognized that my hips were bad. Now listen, when I say my hips were bad, basically it was bone on bone. Like my hips were fused. I have bone spurs. He was like, that's why you have so much pain. He's like, you got bone spurs all up in here. He's like, we got to
Mm-hmm.
give you two. And I only thought it was my left side because I was like, oh, feminine. The left side is feminine, the right is masculine. I'm like, oh, my feminine issues, but my mom and all these things and stuff. So I thought it was on my left side, right? Then this cat was like, nah, well, after your left heels, we're going to do the right. And I'm like, what? Damn, it's my masculine side too. But I was like, oh, shoot. I had to recognize, I was like, listen, I got to go Western medicine here because ain't enough shaman journeys and freaking psychedelic mushrooms that are going to heal my ass to get me to walk straight. I
Yeah.
need new hips, man. So it was an amazing process. And even in going into the Western part of it, like getting the surgery, right? It helped the Eastern part of it because like I had to learn how to walk again. Like it was like new neurons firing, bro. It's like, oh my God, why am I emotional? I'm thinking
Yeah.
about when I was 3. I was like, what is going on here, bro? Like, dude, it's amazing. I'm sitting here laughing and smiling about it because I'm thinking about what's possible for people when they can have the interconnectedness, right? To the point where I don't need any, I could be free of needing any foreign substances. It's a wrap. I'm thinking about the goodness of when people can have this interconnectedness. So like for people that are listening that are open to either whichever side they're more on, whether it's like I'm more about the Reiki and like the energy and all that stuff, or if they're on like I'm more about get the medicine and the pills and all that stuff, regardless, what would be your offer suggestion on what people can do to have more of that interconnectedness and balance for how they nurture themselves, man?
You know what? I would say learn both sides of it and then make your best decision. Listen to your intuition. Most people just know the Western medicine. Learn the Eastern a little bit, or if you're all Eastern, learn a little bit of the Western. I'm not saying just go all to one side. I'm not saying one side is much better than the other. I mean, I think the Eastern philosophy is a little better than the Western, but that's my personal opinion after doing all research on both sides.
Yeah.
And then just take I mean, we don't always have to agree. But what I'm saying, like a lot of people are like, oh no, it's all about this, it's all about this. You need to listen to your doctor, it's all about this. Well, what kind of research have you done on the other side? I'm not saying never don't listen to your doctor. I'm just saying learn research on the other side. What have you learned about that? Well, I don't have time for that, or I haven't looked into that. Then you don't really know. You don't know anything about the topic. You only know one side of it. You got to kind of stay in the middle. You use your intuition. Be like, hey, what makes more sense to me? The Eastern philosophy makes way more sense for me. For my experience.
Mm.
So learn a little bit and then make your decision.
Yeah, dude, it's so wild because I was thinking about this question. I'm like, what would I say? And it's very similar to what you'd say. Surprise.
Yeah.
But like I would say that people take a step in each direction. So like if you're more on the west side, like take it and you're on medication, take a step into like what are some different medications that you could take. If you're more on the or actually even and then for the west side, like, hey man, maybe take a yoga class or get yourself a massage or go get an acupuncture session. If you're more on the east side, you step into more like maybe if you're a Reiki practitioner, maybe you become a Reiki master, you deepen your knowledge. And then on the west side, maybe you learn about different medicines that could or supplementations that are available out there because wherever we are on the spectrum, and that's one of the beautiful things about it, it's more than black or white, is that there's a lot of everyone's different. So one of the key things too, and another piece I'm going to offer is get to know yourself. And where could that start? It's vast. I get it. And here's a good start. Like if your body had a voice, what would it say? What would it ask for? Right?
Yeah.
And then shut up. Shut up
Yeah.
and step into imagination. And what oh God, that is that a voice? That just said it wanted me to eat a Kit Kat. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm just saying maybe that's like some pain that you need to get addressed. But like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I think those are two great places from Brian and I where you can get kicked off, man, and like go from there. Kick it off.
Yeah.
You know? So listen, man, listen, we're gonna keep these short and sweet. I don't know how short it was because I didn't really keep a timer. And it's like,
I have no idea. I had no idea. We just kind of went
yeah.
off on a tangent. All good though, man.
Listen, bro, it's all good, man. We could be on here for 7 hours and it feels
That's
like
it.
30. That's why I'm like, yo, did we just go into some Doctor Strange shit?
Yeah.
Did we just do it? But listen, Brian, any last words on this topic, man, before we wrap up, bud?
Be open-minded, man. Learn both aspects of it. Be open-minded, especially if you're dealing with an issue for a long time. You've been dealing with an issue, say, 10, 15 years, and you can't get past it. You've just been doing Eastern philosophy stuff. Go a little bit Western. If you're doing 10, 15 years, a lot of issues, all you've been doing is Western philosophy stuff. Try Eastern philosophy. What's the definition of insanity, right? Let's try to break that. That'd be my homework. Try to look into certain things. There's a time and place for everything.
Every time, every day, every moment.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I dig this, man. Like
Yep.
you and me, kid. You
Uh-oh.
and me.
Trouble.
All right, buddy. Listen, this is Paul. Brian, listen, thank you for joining. Thank you for being in this conversation. And listen, we want to hear from you. So, like, leave in the comments, like, so your thoughts on this. Like, what is a way that you are channeling into Eastern philosophy or the Eastern way of medicine? What's the way you're tapping into the Western side of medicine? And then maybe share like what's the way you're gonna explore the other one. I love what you're saying, Brian. Like, be open. And my thing is stay curious and know yourself. With
Yeah.
that, you're out.
Peace.